Yes, my name is Bench and welcome back to another Starmade logic tutorial. In this episode we'll be checking out the brand new sensor block and the ways that it can detect different percentages of charge up and cool downs with your ship and station systems, which is really cool. It gives you a lot of power to control and add automation into your different systems and your logic, and I'm really excited about it. It's opened up brand new possibilities where we haven't had them before. So let's show you the basic rundown of how it works and how the basic setup goes in order for you to start detecting your ship's systems. So you'll see this is the block here. It's nice, it looks like a logic block, but it doesn't actually change its state on its own. So there isn't an orange version, it's always going to look blue. And we connect our different activation modules to it in order to set it up ready for what it needs to do. But first we need to understand how this block works. Now this block works by detecting percentages of the system that it is connected to. So if you consider your power and your power is recharging, it recharges up to say 10% and then 25, 50, 75, and when it's fully recharged, we say that it's 100% charged. Same with your jump drive, same with your shields, consider your power auxiliary as well. Even your cargo, you could say that your cargo has been 10% used, 50% used, and then at 100% used, it's completely full. So you can see how these relate to these different systems of our ships and our stations. Now, the reason we talk about fractions is because percentages are all well and good, it's great as a number, but how do you actually tell the sensor block that this is the particular percentage that you want it to detect from the system it's connected to? And so fractions rather are a really easy way for us to do that. So if you look here, starting from the far right, you see 100% is also considered 1 over 1. So 1 on the left hand side slash 1 on the right hand side. And now we can read that as being the 1 on the right hand side saying how many activation modules we have connected to our sensor block. And then the 1 on the left we can consider as being how many of those activation modules are actually switched on, or are true, or high, or active, whatever you want to call it. If you're getting a bit confused about the terminology, you can check out this masterclass here for all you want to know about it. So if we keep going on to the 75% on the left, you see it says 3 over 4, also known as 3/4, and that means that we have 4 activation modules connected to our sensor block, but only 3 of them are active. Next we go on to the 50%, or 1 over 2, or a half, and that means that we've got 2 activation modules connected to our sensor block, but only 1 of them is active. Next we have 25%, so we have 4 activation modules connected to our sensor block, but only 1 of them is active. And then finally 10%, we have 10 activation modules connected to our sensor block, and only 1 of them is active. This is also a really easy way to determine if you want specific percentages, where you could have 1 activation module active and whatever percentage you want to count up to as the number of actual activation modules connected to the sensor block. That might seem a bit full on if you're trying to detect bigger numbers, but you can also break it down. As you can see here, we've broken it down, and so that's kind of where fractions kind of are helpful in that regard. So let's see this in a practical example. You can see here we have our actual block here, and what we will do is we'll drop down a activation module. Now it's easiest just to select the sensor block and then drop it down, because you'll see now it's connected. And you might be wondering, why isn't there any logic pipes appearing? And that's because I've been able to switch them off. It's a new option in the brand new release, so that way we don't have crazy pipes going everywhere. So you'll see we have our sensor block, we're connected to a activation module, and if I switch it on, now this activation module is set up to detect 100%. If I add another activation module, you'll see I've got 2, and only 1 of them is active. Now we're set up to detect 50%. So as you see here, 1 and 2 equals 1 and 2. If I add 4, now I'm detecting 1/4. You can see there, 1 and 4. And if I make 3 active, as I've done now, it becomes 3/4, or 75%. Now that's all well and good, we've got the ability to set up what percentage we're detecting. How do we get an output from this thing? Well, it's really easy. We put an activation module just next to the sensor block. Now note, we do not connect it. Do not connect it. And that's because if we connect it, it starts adding to our percentages and fractions, and we just don't want that. That will mess up our circuits big time. So instead of, we just don't connect it like so, we just put it directly next to the sensor block. So the sensor block will trigger any logic activation modules or buttons that are directly next to it whenever it detects the percentage that we've set up, or anything above that percentage for that matter. So what we'll do is we'll connect it to the lights on the ground, and that will make it easier for us to see when this does actually detect. Now, one other thing this thing requires is a clock, and that's because it's not constantly detecting your system. It'll just be too processor intensive. Instead, we have to connect a clock, and when it detects a change of state, then that is what triggers the sensor block to go and check whatever system it's connected for the percentage we've set over here. So we can do a simple clock by putting a delay into a knot and taking the knot back into the delay. Again, if you want to find out about delays, you can always check out this masterclass here, all about the delay block and how it can be integrated into different simple circuits. But for now, we'll toggle the delay on and off, and you'll see that starts it going. Now we can put that into any one of these blocks and connect it into our sensor block now. So you can see now that that is all connected up the way that we want it to be, and we're all ready to go. So what we might do is we'll toggle this down to, say, a quarter, and we'll connect it to the power. Now we're connected to the power, and we do have power that's been charged up on this ship while we've been doing the video. So now we can see it's all lit up because it's detected that we're over 1/4 charged. Now if I jump into flight mode quickly, you can see I've got one set up here, and I've got the jump drive that's actually sitting in front of us, and you can see on the right here that it even says 100% for our power. Now if I start to charge my jump drive, you'll see it goes down. We're at about 51, 52% here, and you'll see the light's still on. If we go a bit more, 40%, still nothing, and that's because we're detecting a quarter. If we keep edging our way down, you can see we're about 30% here, and again, we're still detecting over 25%, so we've got it. But if I drop it lower, you can see, oh, there it goes. It's now detecting under 25%. The light has gone off. So that is a really fast response as well. You can see the clock's going pretty quickly, and it is really great to be able to detect stuff like that. You'll see that as we go over the 25% mark and start heading up, it will trigger itself. There you go. Now it isn't quite as accurate as the indicator in the HUD either, so you're not going to get precise things, and that's just because of the delays and stuff that are involved in it detecting and then feeding back into the system. But you can see there, like, we were at 26% and it already had responded, so that's good to see that it is pretty responsive. When I drop down as well, it can really detect that as well. So there we go, that's that block. Now you'll be thinking to yourself, but Bench, you've got stuff here that doesn't really have percentages associated with it. Yes, that's correct. What we will do is we'll showcase that right now. So if we get rid of all of these and we'll trigger it on like that, you can see we have these doors. Now these doors only either have a open or a closed state, but we can actually use a sensor block to detect that. So at this point we're set up with our activation module to detect 100%. So if we select it there, when it's closed it's considered 100%, and you can see it's all triggered there. If I open the doors, you'll see now they go off. So now this is a really easy way to detect whether doors are open or closed. Again, we can also utilize this with things like our radar jammer or our cloaker to be able to detect whether or not those systems are active or not. So you can see they're not active at the moment, so everything goes off. So it's really handy to be able to detect the different states of things. We've got shields, we've got power, we've got cargo it can be used with, jump drives and thrusters at the moment, and there'll be other systems in the future as well. But that's the basic setup to be able to use the sensor block In the next episode, we'll look at how we can actually set up our display modules to be able to adjust their feeds and their outputs based on what our sensor blocks are detecting for our system. But until next time, my name is Bench, and thanks for watching.